What if I told you that the fundamental narrative of our civilization, the one that shapes the faith of billions, is merely a distorted echo of a much grander cosmic symphony? What would happen if the foundations of your spiritual understanding, forged by millennia of dogma, were about to crumble before a truth as ancient as time itself? A truth jealously guarded in the annals of Thoth himself, the enigmatic scribe of the gods, the master of ancient wisdom. Imagine for an instant that the most revered figure in the West, that immaculate being we believe distant and unreachable, was not born into divine fullness, but forged it through a path of dedication, study, and transmutation. A path of inner alchemy, identical to what every soul aspires to. What would you do with this spark of knowledge? This forbidden revelation that challenges orthodoxy and tears through the veils of oblivion that have covered the true essence of his legacy. Open your mind, because what we are about to unveil, what Thoth consigned in his emerald tablets, a profound gnosis about Jesus of Nazareth, not only contradicts, but pulverizes every preconception instilled by ecclesiastical structures. It is a shocking truth, a guarded secret that promises authentic and transformative spiritual illumination. This journey is not a mere intellectual exploration. It is a descent into the depths of being, an immersion in the primordial current of consciousness that can redefine your understanding of the esoteric universe and the limitless potential of your own divinity. By delving into the Egyptian mysteries that Jesus himself embraced, we connect with a heritage of knowledge that has been systematically suppressed, precisely because of its power to empower the individual and free them from dependence on external intermediaries. The transcendence of this hidden truth lies in its ability to ignite the spark of Christ consciousness in your own heart. That state of illumination and mastery that Jesus did not come to reserve for himself, but to demonstrate as the inherent destiny of every soul. Understanding the authentic teachings of the Ascended Master, those that vibrate in harmony with the universal law of reincarnation and soul evolution, is to shed illusions and embrace the map to your own spiritual sovereignty, to the understanding that the kingdom of heaven is, in fact, within you, in this veil that we are about to lift. We will barely glimpse the details of Jesus' lost years, and that crucial period between the ages of 12 and 30 in his life, where his soul, already impregnated with the memory of multiple previous incarnations as Adam, Enoch, and Melchizedek, immersed itself in the secret fraternities of Egypt, on the paths of Tibet, and in the remote ashrams of India, absorbing an ancient wisdom that blurred the boundaries between the human and the divine. We will understand how reincarnation was not a peripheral doctrine, but the central axis of his message about the perfection of the soul through countless existences, and how divine judgment is revealed not as a final event, but as the relentless yet just cycle of karma throughout the ages. We will contemplate the crucifixion not as an act of atoning sacrifice, but as the supreme manifestation of indestructible consciousness, the empirical demonstration that the human being possesses the same divine power to transcend the physical barrier of death, a living testament to empowerment. And what is even more revealing, we will unveil that the second coming of Jesus is not a singular future appearance, but a continuous presence, a series of reincarnations of the Christic spirit throughout history, to correct distortions and guide humanity towards a collective graduation in Christ consciousness, recognizing that same divine spark in all masters and traditions without religious boundaries. Prepare for a gnosis that promises to unveil not only the veils of oblivion, but also the curtains of illusion, revealing the essence of divinity that awaits to be awakened in each of you. If these words resonate in the deepest chambers of your soul, if your spirit longs to transcend imposed limitations and drink directly from the source of hidden truth, then we urge you to join us on this revealing journey. Manifest your resonance by liking this video, Share your most intimate reflections and your boldest questions in the comments. And subscribe to this channel so that the light of these forbidden revelations may continue to illuminate your path. This is the threshold. The true odyssey of the soul begins now, in the sacred space of your own quest. The conventional narrative presents Jesus as divinely born, a unique savior. The ancient texts of Thoth whisper he did not become divine but made himself divine. He was a tireless student, a pilgrim of esoteric knowledge. Through discipline and seeking, he transmuted his humanity into Christ consciousness. Demonstrating a universal inner alchemy, his lost years were an immersion in mystery schools of Egypt and the East. He unraveled cosmic laws and the transmutation of the spirit. He sculpted his divinity with will and practice, not by predestination. He showed that enlightenment is the fruit of dedication, opening a path of personal mastery. Effort, not inheritance, was his true miracle. To understand divinity is to see it as expanded consciousness, a Christic spark latent in every being. Jesus did not receive it, but achieved it, revealing universal potential. Ascension is not external grace, but the forging of the spirit. Alchemy that transmutes the human into the sacred. An invitation to recognize and activate the inner divine spark, a path of genuine empowerment. Gnostic gospels and apocryphal texts, suppressed, reveal Jesus as an initiatic master, a healer of subtle energies. His miracles were mastery of natural laws, not their rupture. His power emanated from a deep connection with the One, a truth veiled to maintain orthodoxy. These forbidden writings urge us to unveil our own potential, that which he manifested. This revelation urges us, if Jesus' divinity was forged, what does that imply for our latent spark? It is not history, but an invitation to explore inner alchemy. It is not about worshipping, but emulating his path, recognizing the Christic potential. The second coming is the collective awakening of this forged consciousness. Are you ready to feel it within you? The veil covering the 18 years of Jesus' life, between his visit to the temple at age 12 and the beginning of his ministry at age 30, is not merely a historical void, but an enigmatic invitation to true initiation. The canonical texts maintain a sepulchral silence, but esoteric traditions, whispered through the millennia, reveal a path of profound study and spiritual pilgrimage. This period is said to have been an odyssey of knowledge, where the young Jesus sought universal wisdom in the brightest centers of ancient learning, the mystery schools of Egypt, the Buddhist abbeys of Tibet, and the Vedic ashrams of India. There, far from the Western gaze, the crucible of his consciousness was forged. In these sanctuaries of knowledge, Jesus would have immersed himself in disciplines that transcend common understanding. In Egypt, he became familiar with Hermetic wisdom, the alchemy of the soul, and sacred geometry. In India, he mastered yoga and deep meditation, learning to control breath and mind to access higher states of consciousness, perhaps even the energetic healing practices he would later manifest. In Tibet, he is said to have studied the principles of Buddhism, impermanence, compassion, and the illusory nature of reality. Knowledge that would resonate in his later parables. This was not a mere intellectual learning, but a transmutation of being. Although official history omits these journeys, hints are scattered in the margins of forbidden texts. The Essenes, a mystical Jewish sect, maintained known connections with Egyptian priesthoods and Eastern philosophies, serving as cultural bridges. The Silk Road, a vast network of trade and exchange, transported not only goods, but also ideas and spiritual masters. The Nag Hammadi manuscripts and other apocryphal gospels, such as the Gospel of Thomas or the Infancy Gospel of Jesus, though not direct, allude to a Jesus with wisdom and understanding that could not have arisen solely from local Jewish tradition, but from profound global study. This perspective on the lost years radically reconfigures our understanding of Jesus' divinity. It suggests that his mastery was not a passive, predestined gift, but the fruit of arduous discipline, conscious searching, and profound inner alchemy. His Christ consciousness is revealed then, not as a divine exclusivity, but as an attainable state, an inherent potential in every soul that dares to undertake the path of self-transformation. His miracles, far from being breaches of natural law, could be interpreted as the perfect application of universal laws understood through esoteric study. Thus, Jesus emerged from these schools not only as a prophet, but as a master of masters, an initiate who had unveiled the veils of illusion through gnosis. The accumulated wisdom, the internalized experience, would be the foundation of every word, every healing, every later teaching, imbuing his actions with an authority and power that resonated with cosmic truth. But how did this universal wisdom manifest in the messages he ultimately shared with the world? And why did certain truths have to remain veiled, awaiting the awakening of collective consciousness in coming ages? The question that then arises is deep and disturbing. What fate awaited these universal truths, this gnosis that Jesus himself embodied? The answer lies in the intricate labyrinths of history, in the corridors of a nascent power that, upon consolidating, felt the imperative need to redefine spiritual reality, the very essence of a teaching that empowered the individual, revealing inherent divinity and the capacity for self-transformation, became an existential threat to an institution seeking to establish itself as the sole mediator between the human and the divine. This internal alchemy of the soul, this personal path to divinity, had to be eclipsed for external mediation to flourish. It was in the first centuries, as Christianity sought its form and voice in a turbulent empire, that a silent but relentless purge began to brew. This was not a mistake or a misunderstanding, but a deliberate strategy to erect the foundations of an unshakable orthodoxy. Teachings that spoke of the pre-existence of the soul, of karma and reincarnation, notions deeply rooted in Pythagorean, Platonic thought, and even certain Jewish currents of the time, and which formed part of the philosophical mosaic of the mysteries, were systematically labeled as heresies. They were uncomfortable truths that undermined the need for salvation granted from without, instead of cultivated from within. Ancient texts, such as fragments from Origen of Alexandria, a church father of immense influence, reveal his deep understanding of the pre-existence of souls and purification through cycles of life. His writings, revered in his time, were later anathematized in councils such as Constantinople in 553 AD, although official history often minimizes the true extent of these condemnations. It wasn't just Origen. The very idea that a soul could return to Earth to learn and grow, to settle karmic debts and perfect its spirit, was systematically eradicated. Could it be that such a fundamental truth was seen as an obstacle to submission and control? The suppression was not limited to condemning specific texts or persecuting individual thinkers. It was a more subtle and encompassing process. The rewriting of history, the selective canonization of gospels and epistles, and the demonization of any alternative narrative. What was once a path of self-discovery and personal responsibility was transformed into a rigid dogma where eternal destiny depended on obedience to the institution. An impassable barrier was created between the individual and their direct connection with the divine, positioning the Church as the sole bearer of the key to salvation. This spiritual re-engineering, is it not one of history's greatest perverted alchemies? This manipulation of spiritual heritage bequeathed us a fragmented vision of the path, a truncated path that has kept us in a perpetual search for a meaning that resides within us. The denial of reincarnation and Jesus' lost years stripped humanity of a deeper understanding of its own evolutionary purpose and the immensity of the soul's journey. What other ancient truths lie hidden under the veil of the forgotten, waiting to be rediscovered to illuminate the next step in the great alchemy of collective consciousness? The answer, perhaps, is not in the burned books. but in the echo of a wisdom that still resonates in the depths of our being. The echo of wisdom resonating in the depths of our being leads us to the most subversive revelation. The kingdom of heaven is within you. These words, attributed to a great master, are a direct map to inherent divinity. Is it not curious that this profound truth, so central to spiritual autonomy, has been systematically relegated or misinterpreted? Suppressing this inner divine spark was, and still is, the key to keeping humanity captive in the illusion of spiritual powerlessness, seeking externally what has always resided in the sanctuary of its own being. This fundamental principle was not born in the sands of the Levant, but pulsed much earlier in the heart of an ancient civilization that understood the cosmic essence of the individual, a perverted alchemy of truth on the banks of the Nile, among hieroglyphs narrating epics of gods and men. This primordial truth was already whispered. The ancient Egyptians, with their profound understanding of cosmogony and the soul, understood that human beings were not just flesh and bone, but a complex tapestry of divine principles, manifested in concepts such as Ka, the divine vital force residing in each one, and Bai, the individual essence of the soul that could interact with celestial realms. Their temples were not just stone edifices, but complex devices for the transmutation of the spirit, for awakening the Neter or inner God. Is it not fascinating how this perspective, far from worshipping external deities, invited each individual to recognize and cultivate their own divine nature, to be a living reflection of creation itself, a fragment of the vast order of Ma'at? When Jesus proclaimed that the kingdom is within, was he not resonating with this ancient Egyptian gnosis that saw man as a potential Osiris, capable of transcending mortality and uniting with the divine through self-knowledge? Hermetic teachings, often attributed to the mythical Hermes Trismegistus and rooted in Egyptian wisdom, remind us of the maxim, as above, so below, implying that the macrocosm is reflected in the microcosm of the human being. The inner journey to the kingdom is not a passive wait, but an active alchemy of the soul, a purification and elevation of consciousness. It is the recognition that the light of the world is not an external phenomenon to be sought, but an inherent incandescence awaiting discovery and liberation from the depths of our own being, revealing the heritage of the initiates of old. However, this powerful truth was systematically stripped of its essence, transforming into a distant future promise, conditioned by obedience to external dogmas. By externalizing divinity and placing it in a distant heaven or in the hands of authorized intermediaries, humanity was subtly disconnected from its own inherent power, from its capacity to be co-creators of its reality. Texts that perhaps explored these deep connections, the Gnostic Gospels and other apocryphal writings, were condemned to oblivion precisely because they empowered the individual beyond structures of control. Does this not make us reflect on the true nature of salvation, when the key has always been in our own heart, sealed by millennia of misinformation and fear, a genuine desecration of truth? This understanding of inner divinity, the gnosis that transcends dogma and the boundaries of established religions, is not a mere philosophical concept, but a transformative force. It is the invitation to undertake the most sacred journey of all, the descent into the secret chambers of our own existence to rediscover the God or goddess who dwells there, the inexhaustible source of wisdom, love, and power. It is true inner alchemy, the transmutation of the lead of ignorance into the gold of enlightened consciousness, a resurrection of the spirit in life. But how is this divinity activated? What are the forgotten rites and practices that allow us to purify the inner temple and light the perpetual flame of the soul? The answer to these questions awaits us in the next veils of this ancient mystery, unveiling the tools to relegate ourselves to our essence. Gnosis whispers veiled truths about the soul, its eternal journey. The scrolls attributed to Thoth reveal an astonishing preparation of the being we would know as Jesus. It was not an isolated event, but the culmination of a vast spiritual lineage. His divine essence, through countless existences, accumulated ancient wisdom, forging a path towards his cosmic mission. This conscious evolution challenges our linear perceptions of time and creation, doesn't it? Thoth details that this ascended master inhabited bodies such as Adam, the primordial one, then as Enoch, who walked with God, knowing celestial secrets and transcending mortality without tasting it, and later as Melchizedek, the king-priest without lineage or beginning, whose enigmatic blessing to Abraham symbolizes an eternal priesthood that transcends temporal boundaries. Each life, a divine archetype, another layer of experience and knowledge, a fundamental preparation for the final vessel. Each of these incarnations was not a mere stroke of fate, but a deliberate act of accumulating spiritual power and understanding. Adam laid the foundations of humanity and its potential. Enoch unveiled cosmic mysteries and arcana, recording his wisdom in what some call the Akashic records, the annals of existence. Melchizedek established a direct priesthood with the divine, a connection without earthly intermediaries, a meticulous preparation, a true alchemy of the spirit fundamental to the cosmic mission to come. This profound revelation forces us to re-evaluate the figure of Jesus, not as a being who emerged from nothing, but as the conscious manifestation of a divine essence long cultivated and perfected. It is the culmination of conscious evolution, the divine archetype who achieved mastery. His final life on earth was not just a beginning, but the pinnacle of a millennial plan, the ascended master who embodied the ancient wisdom of eons. Do we now understand the magnitude of his presence in the cosmos and his legacy? The knowledge of these multiple incarnations of such a transcendent soul invites us to a deep reflection on our own journey. If even the divine perfects itself through time and experience, what does this tell us about the latent potential of our own soul, our sacred spark? The connection to this spiritual lineage suggests that the path to our mastery is a continuous process, a constant revelation. But how do we discern the veils of our own soul history, and what other truths await us in the forgotten realms of gnosis, beyond what is visible and commonly accepted? Be perfect, the ancient command, is rarely understood in its magnitude. It is not a goal for this single life, but the echo of a soul journey that unfolds through countless incarnations. It is the incessant forging of our essential being, a constant polishing of our inner facets, learning and transcending lessons in an eternal cycle. An existential alchemy that reveals the divine purpose behind every experience, every breath. This evolutionary path is sustained by the immutable law of cause and effect. Karma, not as punishment, but as the great cosmic teacher. Every experience, every relationship, every challenge is a meticulously orchestrated opportunity for the soul to integrate new understandings and dissolve old attachments. It is a gradual purification of the essence, a shedding of the veils of illusion, revealing an increasingly clear and brilliant inner light through the eons. Hermetic and Gnostic texts, along with esoteric Eastern philosophies, whisper truths about this journey. They speak of metempsychosis, of the soul that migrates and ascends, accumulating wisdom like a goldsmith accumulates precious metals for his masterpiece. The process is slow, sometimes painful, but always purposeful. It is the transmutation of the lead of ignorance into the gold of conscious wisdom, the true philosopher's stone. Understanding this vast perspective frees the soul from the anguish of instant perfection. It invites us to embrace every moment as part of a larger design, every failure as a vital lesson, every triumph as a confirmation of our growth. We are not destined for static perfection, but for dynamic evolution, for the continuous expansion of our consciousness, for the sacred dance of self-transformation. Thus, perfection is not a final point. but the full manifestation of our divine potential. The complete awakening of the cosmic spark residing within us, expanding through each life. It is the culmination of a divine plan unfolding in eternity, a destiny for every soul. But how does this path of soul perfection align with the greater purposes of the universe? What cosmic forces guide these incarnations, and what secrets do the masters of wisdom who have transcended this wheel of lives guard? The question of how soul perfection merges with cosmic purpose reveals a profound truth. Jesus of Nazareth, far from being unreachable, manifested as the archetype of human mastery. He embodied the latent potential in every being, not to be worshipped, but to be emulated. His life was a beacon, a living map to self-transformation, the inner alchemy that transmutes our common nature into the pure gold of the Spirit. Demonstrating divinity as a shared destiny, his miracles, often seen as exclusive acts, were in reality demonstrations of a fully aligned consciousness. Healings and control over the elements were nothing more than manifestations of mastery over matter and energy, accessible to those who purify their being. Texts like the Gospel of Thomas suggest that if we know and do these things, we will be children of light. His existence was an invitation to recognize our ability to resonate with higher frequencies, awakening inner gifts through will and wisdom. His enigmatic words, "Whoever believes in me will do the works I have been doing, and they will do even greater things than these," were not hyperbole. They were a prophecy of expanded human potential, an invitation to Christ consciousness. This is not exclusive to one individual, but a state of being, a vibration of unconditional love that Jesus modeled. He planted the seed of this truth in the collective psyche, a spiritual genetic map that blossoms in every soul willing to cultivate its inner garden, merging the human and the divine. Many suppressed texts, such as the Gnostic Gospels of Nag Hammadi, offer an image of Jesus as a master of mysteries, a spiritual alchemist who taught self-liberation through direct knowledge, gnosis. These ancient manuscripts, secretly guarded, reveal that Jesus did not come to be worshipped as an external God, but to inspire the discovery of the inner God in everyone. His message was awakening, intrinsic self-realization, not delegated salvation. Thus, the life of Jesus is not a distant story, but a living teaching, a vibrational template for our own evolution. It is an invitation to the deepest transmutation, from ego to spirit, from fear to love, from ignorance to wisdom. He was not the human exception, but the manifest example of what we can all become by walking the path of self-knowledge and mastery. He showed us that the kingdom of heaven resides within. But how do we activate these keys? What are the rites and lost words that guide us in this ascent? Allow me to reveal one of the truths most distorted by the veil of ignorance, the essence of divine judgment. Far from being a singular final event orchestrated by an external and punitive deity, this judgment is in reality the incessant and intrinsic natural law of karma, operating through the vast expanse of multiple existences. It is a resonant echo of our actions, thoughts, and emotions, a cosmic balance that seeks equilibrium. It is not a sentence imposed from outside, but an inescapable manifestation of the causes and effects that we ourselves sow in the fabric of time and space. A truth whispered in the corridors of forgotten temples. This karmic dance unfolds through the eternal cycle of reincarnation, a series of incessant opportunities for evolution and learning. Each life is a chapter in the great epic of the soul, a classroom where unlearned lessons will resurface. The so-called judgments are truly turning points, moments of revelation where we confront the reverberations of our past choices. The Akashic Memory, the great etheric book of existence, records not to punish, but to reflect, to show us the path to deep understanding and correction of our evolutionary journey. a library of the soul that holds every vibration emitted. The fundamental purpose of this continuous process is not condemnation, but the purification of the soul. Each life cycle, each incarnation, offers a new opportunity to refine our being, to shed the impurities of the ego and align our will with the great universal plan. It is the incessant search for cosmic balance, where every disharmony presents itself as an opportunity for rectification. Ancient records, such as certain Hermetic texts and Vedic scriptures, do not speak of a final judgment day, but of the constant maturation of the soul through innumerable experiences, an inner alchemy that transmutes lead into spiritual gold. The supreme goal of this pilgrimage of the soul is liberation from samsara, the cessation of the cycle of births and deaths, not by external decree, but through the gnosis of the self. It is the awakening to our true nature, the realization that we are divine sparks, eternal and interconnected. Judgment then becomes an act of self-knowledge, a radical introspection that dissolves the illusions of separation and fully integrates us into unitary consciousness. It is the moment when the student becomes the master of their own karmic destiny. Understanding that judgment is a constant process of natural law and karma is empowering. It invites us to take full responsibility for our creation, to consciously weave the destiny we long for. There is no escape from this immanent truth, only the possibility of conscious and transformative participation. The purification of the soul is not an external task, but an inner alchemy, a constant work of alignment with cosmic balance, seeking liberation. But how do we access these Akashic records? And how can we proactively harmonize the threads of our karma to transcend the wheel and advance to a new stage of existence? The harmonization of karma reveals an ancient truth: forgiveness as liberation. It is not weakness, but the most potent spiritual alchemy for untying invisible bonds. These energetic threads bind souls across incarnations, knotted by debts, deep wounds, and forgotten vows, persisting beyond the veil of memory. These bonds are ethereal chains, forged in interdependence. Zoroastrian and Egyptian texts teach that every grievance generates a vibration that draws souls into repeated encounters until balance is restored. It is not punishment, but opportunity. Forgiveness releases the energetic burden that anchors us to the past. Imagine a millennial debt. Lemurian chronicles describe souls trapped in victim-perpetrator cycles for eons, seeking resolution that only love offers. Forgiving those who hurt us and forgiving ourselves dissolves the knot. It is sovereignty over our energy, breaking the cycle of incessant repetition. The alchemy of forgiveness occurs in the inner sanctuary. It is not superficial amnesty, but a profound transmutation of resentment, anger, or guilt. It dissolves projections, revealing unity. By forgiving, we integrate pain as a teacher, cleansing the mirror of the soul to reflect divine light without distortions. Thus, forgiveness is a bridge to the soul's evolutionary spiral. By releasing attachments to old stories, we become lighter, ascending to elevated planes of consciousness. It is a prerequisite for those who aspire to existences beyond the third dimension. But how do we discern the nature of these bonds, and how do we heal them in the very substance of our reality? The true power of the alchemy of forgiveness lies in its ability to rewrite the energetic score of our being, freeing us from the inertia of the ethereal threads that anchored us to the past. It is the manifestation of our spiritual sovereignty, the divine light residing in the inner sanctuary, transmuting pain into pure wisdom. By embracing this truth, we not only heal our own ancestral wounds, but send waves of healing across generations, ascending to an evolutionary spiral where the mirror of the soul reflects the fullness of our essence. We have revealed that discerning these bonds and healing them is an act of self-mastery, a reconnection with the inexhaustible source of our own divinity. Will you allow the echo of these truths to awaken in you the audacity needed to begin your own inner alchemy, untying the ethereal threads that still veil your sight toward your highest destiny. If this wisdom has ignited a spark in your inner sanctuary, if you feel the irresistible call to continue unearthing the truths that await, I invite you to join our brotherhood of cosmic explorers. Subscribe to this channel and share this revelation with everyone who longs for the liberation of their spirit. Together, we weave the web of consciousness that illuminates the paths of existence. To continue your journey through the evolutionary spiral of knowledge, I invite you to cross the next threshold. Click here to unveil the secrets of Dharma, how to align with your soul's cosmic purpose, and discover the true path your spirit longs to tread.